welcome to another video. Akwaba Weza. Thank you very much for hanging out with me again. So today I'm going to talk about the idea that African Americans can appropriate African culture. This conversation has been kick-started by Zipporah, who wrote an article in the Medium saying that African Americans should stop appropriating black culture. And I think that that's impossible, because appropriation is about power. When white people appropriate other things that other people have made, i.e. people in Asia, people in Africa, people in Latin America, it's actually about power. It's the fact that when they appropriate things, it then automatically becomes the mainstream. It becomes cool, it becomes more fashionable. So appropriation is ultimately about power. Identifying as African American, the clue is kind of in the name. You are identifying and aligning yourself with Africa. I mean, that's the whole point, African American Africa. An African myself, and I know Zipporah, who wrote the article, identifies as an African. It's a real privilege to actually really know where you're from. It's a real privilege to know what country. Is a real privilege to be able to go to where your parents are born, where your grandparents are born. It's a real privilege to know who you are, who your family, your aunties are, where your ancestry lies. And I think that sometimes, people in that position take it for granted. But African Americans don't always have the opportunity to do that. I mean, you can do DNA tests now and kind of figure out where you're from, but it's not actually the same as going somewhere and say, hey, this is where my parents are from, this is where my grandparents grew up. Also, African culture does not belong to one person. I mean, we're an entire continent, and we, borrow and share and, take things from each other, and that's how it's always been. When you're locked on a continent, that is what you do. So the bottom line is, accusing African Americans of appropriating African culture is to deny them their Africanness. And it's really funny, because actually some people who are African Americans don't identify with Africa. Ultimately, it's our blackness and our Africanness that brings us together. It's the reason why African Americans are fighting and experiencing police brutality, is the reason why African migrants are down in the Mediterranean without any help or any support from Europe. It's actually ultimately those things that should bring us together in our blackness, in our Africanness. So I'd like to say, welcome African brothers and sisters from the United States, from Europe, from all across the world. You are part of us, and we are part of you. Share in our culture, share in our values, share in our history, because ultimately our history ties us together. Doesn't matter where we are in the world right now, we are ultimately from the same place. So welcome to what is Africa and Africanness, and enjoy all that it has to offer. Our culture is rich. It's a privilege for me to know where I'm from, to be able to specifically point and go somewhere and do all of that. It's a privilege, and some people don't have this privilege. So if unfortunately they wear something the wrong way, or they wear something from a Yoruba tribe in Yoruba, or they wear something from from Ashanti in Ghana tribe in Ashanti, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, people are connecting themselves to the continent. That can certainly be a good thing. Thank you very much for watching. Comment, like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you all for the love. You can follow me everywhere on the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram. I have a couple more days here in Ghana, and then I'm off. I'm really sad, but hopefully when I get to the UK, I shall be making more videos and talking about more issues that you'd like to hear about. So thank you for watching. So ultimately, it's our blackness and our Africanness that brings us together.